Hello everyone, today we're talking about The Flash, and the name of this episode was The Runaway Dinosaur. Okay, so note, this episode was directed by Kevin Smith, which is pretty interesting because this is actually, I think, one of the better episodes of the season, and it's mainly because it's really a, self-contained story. It's about Barry overcoming something that's been holding him back pretty much the entire series, and that's what works the best about this episode. We introduced like a really cool idea with Barry in that it's not necessarily just his mother's death that bothers him, that still haunts him to this day. It's more so now that he knows the reason his mother dies is because he chooses to save himself, like a little kid version of himself, instead of his mother. And Barry kind of feels guilty, so it's not only that he feels sad, but he also feels guilty. This is awesome. This is probably the best thing that we've done with Barry this season in terms of progressing him as a character, and it's all in this really self-contained episode. And that's why this episode, I think, worked better than like the past two episodes, because the main plot of this season is really everywhere right now, but this, which is kind of like its own little self-contained story, works really, really well because we're dealing with things and characters, and we're actually progressing the characters instead of just progressing the plot. So, yeah. But something funny about the way this episode starts. So Wells, after the experiment, he's like, oh God, I just kind of blew up Barry Allen in front of Barry's dad's. Oh God. And then he gets on the intercom, and he's like, Jesse, I need you to come down here. If I remember this correctly, I'm pretty sure Jesse and Wally were locked in like a secret room to keep them safe that they didn't know how to get out of. So Wells, he calls Jesse down. He's like, Jesse, get down here. But as far as he knows, Wally and Jesse are like locked in a closet and like they can't get out. So like, why would he call them down there? All they needed to do was, instead of have Wells say that, they're just like, oh God, let's go check on Wally and Jesse. Then they run up and see Wally and Jesse on the floor. I don't know. Also, this kind of made me think, why did they assume that this time Barry wouldn't wind up in a coma? Because obviously the first time Barry got his powers, he was in a coma for a long time. So why now did they think that like this experiment would work and that Barry wouldn't wind up in a coma? Or were they planning on him winding up in a coma and then like waking up in months from now and then like stopping zoom in? I don't know what they were thinking. So in this, for some reason, Wally and Jesse, who have been hit with the Speed Force, Jesse's in a coma, Wally's not. Right now it doesn't look like necessarily either of them is going to have the Speed Force, well, it looks like they have it, but like they're trying to mislead us right now into thinking that they don't have it. But I think that we'll see them as speedsters, or like hints at them being speedsters within like the next two episodes probably. So, yeah. Now, I guess the dual stories of this episode. One is a fairly, normal story for the Flash. It's the bully Tony, I think his name's like Girder, from I think it was season 1 when Barry like did the supersonic punch and punched him. He's back, but he's a zombie, and that was all really weird. I don't know if I believed any of that, but I don't know. It's Flash. There's a lot of weird like pseudoscience stuff that doesn't really make sense in Flash. Something that always annoys me about Flash. People constantly do this. They look around and like there's like something sciencey is happening. So in this episode, like at one point Cisco makes like these like magnet things, then they're gonna like like magnet wave at Tony, and it's gonna like kill Tony. And like Cisco explains what it is in his like science terms, and then Iris puts it in like normal stupid terms, and she's like, oh, so it's like wiping a hard drive. And it's like, this show does that so much, where they explain something in like science talk, and then someone just goes like peeling an orange. Like they explain it in a really simple way right after, and it's always like, it's literally the scientific explanation followed by another character interrupting and saying the simple explanation. And it's really funny. It happens at the end. It happens at the ending of this episode also when Barry's running around Tony and he's like, and then like, Cisco's like, he's charging the magnet, or Wells is like, or no, Cisco's like, he's using spin to charge the magnets, and then Wells is like, he's like an electromagnet or something like that. And it's like they just like someone says it in weird terms, and then someone just like really bluntly puts it like in easy, understandable words. It's they do it so much on this show, and they do it on Arrow, but it's mostly with like tech talk. This like it's just like crazy weird science talk, and it's just kind of weird and unbelievable sometimes. But overall, I don't really know why we brought back Tony, and he doesn't really make much sense for a couple reasons. One, he comes back to life. He runs out of his cell conveniently as Cisco and Iris go down into the morgue, and when he runs out, he's like freaking out. And Iris is right there, and she like shines a flashlight at him, and he's right there. There's no way Tony does not see Iris's face. And we learn that Tony's looking for Iris. He's going to Jitters, and then he's going to their house. Iris was right in front of him. Why did he run away? Why did he not just get Iris there? Also, I understand the cops can't operate from the police station anymore because Zoom took it over with all the metahumans, but they've got to somewhat still be doing their cop jobs. Like, they can't just be not doing anything. What are they doing? Is it just complete anarchy in Central City? Like, why is a zombie guy running down the streets, knocking over cars and crap and smashing stuff and yelling? How are the cops not chasing after him? He's just walking down the middle of the street. I don't really know. But again, that's all kind of stuff that is happening, and it's all typical Flash episodic television kind of stuff. But the good stuff is with Barry in the Speed Force. All of that really works. I really like how like mystical and just kind of mysterious the Speed Force is, and how it kind of operates with like a conscience, and it's like and it can speak to Barry. I think all that's really interesting. So overall, I think that this is one of the better episodes this season because, like I said, we're moving characters over, like we're actually moving characters like in directions now. We're actually making them evolve. And so Barry, he's kind of over his mother, and he's kind of ready to see what happens with Iris. And Iris and Barry, they're kind of like a thing now at the end of this episode. That's really interesting. We've been waiting for so long for that to happen. We knew it was going to happen. Now it's happened, and that's cool because you've just been waiting and stalling, and it kind of makes the Patty thing just kind of like it makes Patty's involvement earlier on in the season kind of just seem like we were buying time for Barry to eventually get with Iris, and it just happens in this episode. But Barry is definitely in a more interesting place moving forward, and Barry's dad is coming back into the show. He's going to be in Barry's life again. I don't know why he wasn't always in Barry's life. I don't know. Also, prediction. I think I predicted this a while back. I predicted that the guy with the mask on his head was going to be Barry's dad on Earth 2. And I've seen a lot of people be like, no, it's not going to be Barry's dad. It's going to be blah, blah, blah. I think that what is the case is Barry's dad is actually on Earth 2, Jay Garrick, because he said that his mother's maiden name was Garrick. So on Earth 2, Jay Garrick is actually Barry's dad, and evil Jay Garrick is actually not Jay Garrick. Obviously, we know that he's Hunter Zolomon, but he is actually locked up and has the mask on the real Jay Garrick, who's Barry's dad. That's what it's going to be. I'm predicting it now. That's what it is. Everyone, I think it's fairly obvious now, but I predicted that a while ago, and people told me that I was wrong. So unless something crazy happens, and that's not the case, I was right. I just wanted to point that out to everybody. But I'm excited to have Barry's dad back in the show now. It didn't really make any sense for him to be out of the season earlier on in the first place. So I honestly don't know why they even had him not be in the show. He could have been in for a while. It's also weird how we keep coming up with reasons to have Jessie written out of episodes. So like she goes off to live her own life for like what was it, like 2 episodes, maybe even 1 episode. And then in this episode, she's unconscious, and Wally West is fine. I don't really know what's going on there. That could be a whole bunch of different things. I also don't understand why Cisco randomly thinks, oh hey, Barry, he when he saw me in the Speed Force and turned away and ran, it was because he actually wanted to stay in the Speed Force. I don't know why Cisco randomly thinks of that at the last second. That doesn't make any sense. That was just like a thing where they're like, and now Cisco will randomly assume that Barry didn't want to go with him out of the Speed Force because he needs to do that now. And it was like, I don't know, why didn't they just, you could have just made them go, let's try it again one last time because there's nothing else we can do. They could have just tried again. They didn't need to like come up with a reason for Cisco to randomly think, maybe there was a reason Barry didn't come back with me. So overall, there was some typical Flash stuff in this episode, but the really good stuff that we've been waiting to see with the characters for a while has finally happened. So overall, this is a really good episode. Good job, Kevin Smith, and good job, Flash writers, for making this episode good. So, what did you guys think of this episode? Leave it down in the comments down below. Peace out, geeks.